As you can see, I cleaned up all of the parts that make up a Sturmey Archer 3-speed, and now it is time to reassemble this with some fresh grease and some gear oil. So first is the planet gear assembly, and I have seen people dunk these into a bucket with oil, but that is rather wasteful. So I'm going to brush on some gearbox oil, and don't ask me what kind, because the label was gone. It just stank like a gearbox oil does, and this should be good. This pin is just a bit shorter, and I think somebody made a mistake when parting this off. That's probably enough oil, but it's also rust prevention, so I'm going to put a little bit on the balls as well. So far they haven't fell out once, but maybe with a little lubrication in no time they will be on the floor. Up next is the ring gear. A little bit of oil for the ring gear, and also for the ring gear balls. And well, let's just paint this thing in oil. Like I said, good rust prevention. Although this thing isn't really rusty now that I have cleaned it up. Still looks perfect. Damn, that oil stinks. Alright, I forgot the clutch. First there's this sleeve, and then there's this star clutch, and now this little pin that fits through the hole and through the axle like this, and next there's this piece that keeps the clutch together. Alright, now I can install the ring gear, and I might need to wiggle it a bit like so. And next I should install the ball ring, but that needs a bit of grease first. And now this job is getting greasy. The last time I had a Sturmey Archer hop apart, I assembled it with lots of grease, and later I would find out that third gear was missing. I assume the balls were no longer able to move with all of that grease. And I have not replaced these ball bearings. I just cleaned them out as good as I could, and I'm hoping for the best, because, well, I'm not planning to use this wheel very long, because at some point I'm hoping I can fix the original wheel. Hopefully I packed enough grease in this ball ring, but since my hands are rather slippery, I think it should be enough. So up next is the driver, and as you can see I still need to install the ball bearings, so I'm going to do that now. First a bit of grease, and here's the result with some grease. Let's drop this on. And here's the cage with ball bearings, new ones. Unfortunately I could not get a new cone. My local bike guy didn't have them in stock, so I have to reuse the old cone, but I believe that is still okay. But first there's this spring, and I oiled it a bit for rust prevention. And here's the cone, the old one, but it still looks okay. I do have a new cone for the other side, because some of the ball bearings on the other side, they were knackered. Pretty bad actually. And that was a bit surprising, because the bicycle was still riding okay. Damn, spinning these down takes forever. I'm backing this off, otherwise the lug washer will not fit. I think that's good. And now there's a lock nut, and I believe this is 15. Yes, it is. So, tight enough. Feels good. And I already know that this cartridge is good. I checked that in a previous video. Alright, now I need the wheel. So the cone is back off, because I forgot to install this little dust cover. Probably need some tool for this. It was also kind of hard to get this out. I took out the driver and just used a hammer on the bench to seat the dust cover. Not sure if you can call it a dust cover. Well, next I will reinstall the cone, and then we will have a look at the wheel. So I corrected my mistake, and the cone is back on. And I also forgot this dust cover, but I'm going to take this off again, because till it has a drive cock and a circlip, it will not be held in place. And now onto the wheel. And here's the hub shell, nice and clean. And this hub was made in the second month of 1980. And as you can see, it still has a lubrication point. But I'm not going to mess with that. I'm just going to brush in a little oil. Rust prevention. And maybe a bit of lubrication as well. And now I should be able to screw in the cartridge. And this is a double starting thread. So first I'm backing off the cartridge, and now I'm turning it clockwise, hoping it will start. And I think it is starting. And that wasn't my first attempt. It's kind of hard to turn, and I wish I had that spanner that fits on these notches. I guess I will have to use my hammer. Somehow it just became a lot easier to turn this ball ring. Not sure what happened there, but I'm not complaining. Maybe there was some dirt in the threads. Well, that's done, and it should get tighter than cycling. Next I need to install the ball bearings on this side, and of course I need to add some grease. So let's do that first. It's kind of funny how you can see the insides of the Sturmey Archer hub here. Considering how bad the cone was, I really hope that the cup here is still good. Well, that should be enough for grease. And here's my new cone with some new grease. Hopefully that grease will not end up inside the drum brake. Come on, start. Why so difficult? Really? Did I get the wrong cone? God damn it. Every time the camera is running, things like this happen. So here's the original cone. No problem. So, did I get the wrong cone? So here it is, next to the old one. And the outside diameters look the same. But it's just not fitting. Can you see how bad the old one is? That one is really knackered. Like I said before, I'm hoping the cup is still okay. Well, tomorrow is Sunday, so it looks like my project is on hold. The old one, it fits over the axle from this side. The new one doesn't fit over the axle, so I cannot test it from the other side. And I do not have another Sturmey Archer axle that I can try. Fuck. Well, it's a couple of days later and I got myself another cone. It is not exactly the same model. It's a little lower, but at least it has the correct thread. Hopefully it will work out fine. Let's spin down this bastard and find out if I got the correct cone. I stuck the wheel in the vise so it will be easier to adjust the cone. Something like that. And now there's this washer. And here's the drum brake lining, and I did sand this a little bit and clean the inside. Okay. Next there's this weird looking washer that is probably also used to adjust the cone. So it won't be necessary to take off the drum brake lining. Looks like the cone is not really sitting flush with the washer. But I think it will be okay. And last but not least, a lock nut. Now I'm going to try and hold the washer in place with a screwdriver. There are probably better tools for this, but I don't have them. Yeah, that's way too tight. I'm going to use the brake reaction arm to back off the cone a bit. That's better. Now let's nip this up. And again I'm using the brake reaction arm to try and keep the cone in place. Spoke is hitting the brake reaction arm. So everything has been installed, but when I spin the wheel, for some reason some of the spokes are hitting the brake reaction arm. If I spin the wheel in reverse, you can hear it. Maybe that cone is just a little bit lower, and that is causing the problem. So I will take it apart again and try the old cone. So I swapped the cone, but the old cone is also not sitting flush with this lock washer. So the old cone has been installed and adjusted, and there's a little bit of play, but a bit of play is okay. And to my surprise, the spokes are no longer hitting the brake reaction arm. There's almost a millimeter of space. Yeah, just my luck. I guess this video won't get finished this week, because I need to look for another cone. Another day, another cone. And this one came from another bicycle store, because my regular bike guy wasn't available. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised they actually had this old stuff amongst all those shiny new e-bikes. But I still prefer to buy this stuff locally instead of going to Amazon, because in my opinion Amazon represents everything that is wrong with this world. Unfortunately, there's also something wrong with this cone. This new cone that I have looks almost identical than the old one, and it is definitely higher. But as you can see, it has different thread. And unfortunately, the other bike shop that I went to didn't have any Sturmey Archer axles to test with. I guess I will have to go back and bring my wheel, see if he can find something that fits, and this video will get even longer. Finally, after visiting 5 different bike stores, I got the correct cone. Although I almost went home with the incorrect cone, because the bike guy that helped me gave me the incorrect cone with the wrong thread, probably for the front hub. But at least this last store that I visited had the correct cones. I guess I should be thankful for that. Although I bet he would have preferred to sell me one of his shiny new e-bikes. In the end I paid 5 euros for this little hump of metal. And I guess hyperinflation after the corona crisis is starting. I guess I should be glad that I even got a new cone without having to order it from Amazon. Let's quickly spin down this precious piece of metal so I can make an ending to this shit shoe. And now the washer that sits on top of the cone. And now the drum brake lining. And now that weird looking lock washer. It's also not sitting flush with the cone, but I guess that's okay. Now I'm not sure if I should install an extra washer here. I don't believe there was an extra washer when I took this thing apart. Yeah, finally, there it goes. It's spinning, and there's a slight wobble, so I think I will have to throw up this wheel or try to improve it a bit. But don't worry, it will not be part of this video. There's a little bit of sideways play. I think I would like a little bit more play. So I'm going to try and back off the lock nut here. Well, that isn't really working. Although there's more play, so I guess something worked. And as you can see, the spokes are no longer hitting the brake reaction arm. The brake still works. That's nice. To me, it feels like the spokes are a bit loose. But yeah, this is the non-drive side, and there should be less tension on the non-drive side spokes. But yeah, what do I know? I only built a couple of wheels, and I do not have a spoke tensioner, but I will definitely nip these up. Maybe a half turn. Feels good. I think I'm done re-greasing and re-lubing this Sturmey Archer 3-speed, and I guess now this wheel can be installed in my uncle's old Gazelle bicycle. Alright, I guess that's it. Like, subscribe, yada yada yada, and to be continued. I was planning to turn all of the spoke nipples half a turn to give the spokes a bit more tension, but most of these old spokes are seized up. And I did put some WD-40 on the spokes a couple of days ago, but that didn't do the trick. Some of these stainless steel ones that have been replaced in more recent years, they are easy to get loose. But I guess I will have to heat these up with my propane torch. That trick worked for me before. Damn it. This is just normal WD-40. And when everything has cooled down, I will try and see if I can break the nipples free. That might be tomorrow, after everything has gone through a heat cycle. That one's loose. That one as well. I think we have two different sizes of nipple. Also loose. I guess that little heat up, it worked. I will keep turning these spokes for a while. Well, this one is still, yeah, it's loose. And then I will move on to the truing stand and see if I can improve this wheel a little bit. Well, I'm done playing with these spokes, and this is probably as good as I'm going to get it. But yeah, no guarantees. It was kind of funny that the rim kind of expanded when I heated it up. The spokes became loose. Yeah, this is more than good enough for a drum brake. I was going to install the rim tape, and then I noticed that these stainless steel spokes are a bit too long. They're more than a millimeter protruding the nipple, so I guess I will have to grind these down, or at some point I will end up with a flat tire. I'm backing off these nipples a little bit because, well, I did tension them a bit before grinding. I think my tire or my tube will be safe. I reinstalled the rim tape, and now this wheel is finally ready for my uncle's old Gazelle bicycle. But yeah, I'm not really in a hurry, because I already fixed the problem with the Sturmey Archer third gear by squirting in a little bit of WD-40. But at some point I will replace the wheel.